Hey there friends, Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project Copyrighted Edition for our video channel. We're here with the executive producer, Huck. And Huck is hanging out. She just got done running around out in the snow like a crazy girl. And she's resting up right now. You're a good girl. Yeah, thanks for being here, girl. The top of her head is so soft compared to the rest of her, it's unbelievable. But Huck is going to be here for a while, kind of hang out with us. So, the reality behind YouTube decimating this channel is 100% fact. A year and a half ago, we'd averaged 70,000 views. Comments stayed the same, the number of comments. Now we're down to 20 to 30,000 views per show. Number of comments stays the same. All the analytics for the channel are the same, except we're not getting credit for people watching. And then YouTube is not notifying you when a video comes out, and they're unsubscribing people. I'll hear from people that'll say, "Oh, I didn't even know you posted for the last month." That's 15 videos that you haven't seen. So the best way to do that is bookmark this channel and come back every other day. I guarantee I'll be here every other day. Still looking for a way out? I don't know if there is one, but it's serious. It's extremely serious at this point. So what we've done for the last week, in an effort to push you to watch more of our videos, is we developed an index of our videos. It took us a long time to do this. It's 8 pages long. And I want to read this to you. And what it is, it's the video index log of the main segments of our videos that you probably don't even know that we have. So we have maybe 15 amnesia cases. Some people have been very angry about this and said, "What are you doing that stupid thing for about amnesia?" Folks, when you watch the videos and you listen to the cases, these are directly related to the entire missing person abduction scenario. And if you haven't watched Missing 411, the UFO Connection, please go watch it on Tubi, along with our other 3 movies that you can watch for free. So just go watch them and then come back and tell me the amnesia is not relevant. So then we have berry pickers, obviously another subcategory of the missing. And then we have 20 segments of the Bigfoot 101 class. Truthfully, I have not had a negative thought about the Bigfoot class from anyone who's taken it. We get letters in the final exam almost every day on that class, and people with real kind words. You do a final, you get to that, and you take the final test, send it in to me with $10 and you get a patch. And then we have Canadian cases, and then we have a subgroup of children that travel great distances. Why is that important? It's important because small kids can't travel those long distances without some assistance somehow. And parents out there know this. And these disappearances occur in areas where there aren't any roads. And then another segment is interviews and presentations. Interviews I've done during the years with people, and presentations that others have done, I have up there that you need to watch. They're good. Missing hunters. And then you guys love the letters. Well, I put them back up there. And there's a long list of segments I've done on letters. If you don't like them, don't watch them. Foreign country disappearances with the countries listed so you can kind of pick and choose. Then you have mushroom pickers, another subgroup. Milestone cases. We decided to put that in, and that is the cases that really turn the corner and give you a knowledge base that you may not have had when we started. Now, all the cases add to an understanding of what's going on, but these milestone cases are different. And then, obviously, one of the biggest ones, National Park Service property cases. Just not national park disappearances, but you also have national monument disappearances, all patrolled by the National and under the National Park Service guidance. Missing physicians, a subgroup. Trail runners. It's amazing how many trail runners have disappeared. And we've got those videos in a cluster for you. And then another video segment is on trail safety. You guys ask about it all the time. Well, now you can find it and you can look it up. Missing truckers. Another segment that I got a lot of hate about. Oh, you know, those guys, blah, blah, blah. Until you understand the scenario, specifically the David Schultz case, which is in there. Until you understand that, it doesn't make any sense. And the facts surrounding these cases is what's important. Namely, massive searches, never found, never found, never found, suddenly found in the middle of the search zone. Cases where people were found in water, and then cases where people were found in water tanks. Now, that index, I'm hoping, will propagate you to watch our videos. Now, it helps us that video is turned on and you're watching it. Now, you could be doing your housework and have it on in the background and listen to it. Be driving down the road, have it on and listen to it. Those are all great. That helps us immensely. Something needs to happen here that we trigger people to watch our videos. Even you posting these videos on your social media site, give people awareness that may not have known about us. It all helps. So please, take heed and check it out. That index is going to be under the first comment on every video. Important. The pinned comment on every video moving forward will have this list. All right? And obviously, the hat deal that we have going on right now, if you buy 2 Missing 411 books between now and December 12th, I think it is, 15th, just buy 2 Missing 411 books. You don't have to do anything else. We'll put this hat in free, the Liberty hat. Please help us out. Thank you. All right, right into the missing cases. First case. People ask a lot, Dave, tell us about on-duty missing soldiers that disappear. Does that ever happen? Yeah, it does, but it's very rare. This is one of those cases. And the man's name was Sgt Richard Goodling. Goodling was 21 years old. Disappeared March 15th, 1969 from Fort Carson, Colorado. And he was assigned there temporarily. He was born October 26, 1947. I know some of you out there like to know a birth date because you look up your magic. And October 26, 47. He graduated from Juniata High School, 20 minutes northwest from Harrisburg, PA. Born and raised in Pennsylvania. He had a twin brother named Roger. And I think twins are always interesting. Always fascinating to me when one of them disappears. Well, Roger and Richard entered the Army on the same day in June of 1967. And then they were able to serve together at Fort Knox and Fort Sill. And then Richard was sent to Vietnam. And Richard was sent to Alaska. Roger was sent to Alaska. Now, the Army does this, the military does this because in years past, both brothers or 3 brothers got killed in military action. So they always keep one brother out of military action. Richard sent to Vietnam. Now, Richard and his team in Vietnam had some bad things happen. But Richard was a superstar. He was field promoted twice, from to corporal and then to sergeant. And he came back from Vietnam with a field promotion to Sgt Richard Goodling. He came home, and they originally sent him home for Christmas to Pennsylvania. And then his unit was assigned to Fort Carson, Colorado as a temporary assignment. Now, Fort Carson, let me explain this. Just south of Colorado Springs, Colorado. There's Colorado Springs. Fort Carson is a massive base. It's also adjacent to a small city called Fountain, Colorado. So this area out here is their training area. Colorado Springs, Broadmoor, Stratton Meadows, Cheyenne Mountain, if you've never heard of that. It's probably one of the most secure military facilities in the United States. They've got a blast door on it that is huge. And inside Cheyenne Mountain, they have our military that tracks everything in North America. It's essentially the inside of a mountain that's been hollowed out by the military, and they use it for strategic issues. Well, Richard was out. I guess I should show you this. This isn't the best picture, but it gives you an idea of what Richard looked like. Richard and his team were assigned to Fort Carson, and they were out doing maneuvers on March 15th, 1969. It's a picture of Richard when he was home for Christmas in 1968. Well, they were out doing maneuvers. Again, Richard was a superstar. And out of nowhere, and I mean nowhere, he runs over to his commanding officer's Jeep on the base while they're out in the field doing these maneuvers. He jumps in the Jeep and he drives off with it. Now, friends, nobody in the military who's sane would ever do that. I mean, that's instant court-martial. So everyone's stunned. Nobody knows where he's going. Well, the commanding officer assigns the military police to go look for the Jeep. They don't find it on the base. Then they start looking off the base. And 2 miles away, they find the Jeep, but no Richard. They never stated where the Jeep was, just said it was 2 miles off the base. Now, Richard never returned to his bunk that night. They waited until mid-April the following month, hoping he was coming back. He didn't. And then his family and his brother were notified that he was AWOL, away without official leave. When you get an AWOL status, that gets entered into the National Crime Information System. And any policeman across the U.S. that stops you will see that you're AWOL, and they'll pick you up and they'll hold you for military police. It's like a warrant. Yes, it's very serious. And they were looking for him. They thought maybe he went back to Pennsylvania. They weren't sure. It was so far outside the bounds of his normal behavior that everyone had a tough time understanding it. So nobody hears or sees anything about Richard. And then August 19th, 1970, almost a year and a half after Richard disappears, Fountain, Colorado, on that map that I showed you, sits adjacent to Fort Carson on the east side. Kind of on the southwest side of Fountain is their water department. And they have two huge 63 feet tall water tanks. And the way you reach the top of the tank and an entry point to look in is there's a ladder that's 15 feet up off the ground. Well, the water department brings an extension ladder and they hook onto that and then they walk up. Well, and again, this is a 500,000 gallon tank. Huge. Well, at 2 p.m. on August 19th, two teenagers from Fountain decided that they were going to try to climb this tank. And adjacent to the ladder, there's a large pipe. And these two kids decide to shimmy up the pipe to the top, to the bottom of the ladder. They grab the ladder and then they shimmy themselves up. Now, why they did that, nobody really knows. Kids do weird things, but these teenagers were into it. And they get up to the top, and there's a 2x2 plate that blocks the entrance into this tank that you can just kind of push aside. Well, they push aside and they look inside and they see what they think is body parts floating on the top of the water. Well, the kids climbed down and they contacted the Fountain Police. Well, needless to say, Fountain Police was not happy these kids were up there. They were trespassing on water property, but they're also quite concerned that these kids found something in the tank. So Fountain Police gets a hold of the water department, and together the police and the water department go over there. They get the ladder in place. They climb to the top. The kids had slid the door back closed. So the water department slides the door open, and the reports say that the police and the water department people were overwhelmed by a horrific odor of death that emanated from the inside of the tank. And they saw what they believed to be body parts floating in the water. So the water department employees contact their supervisors. They get approval to drain the tank of 550,000 gallons of water. And then people go into the tank and recover the body parts. One of the pieces of bodies had skin on it still, and you could tell that it was a Caucasian person. Also at the bottom of the tank, they found a belt and boots that had a soldier's serial number scribbled on it. Well, they sent the boots and the belt back to Fort Carson to see if they could identify who it was. And then they sent the body parts to the coroner to identify and determine the cause of death. Now, amongst all of this chaos, the water department puts out a press release. Hey, don't worry. We test this water 4 times a week, and we chlorinated heavily, and there was no bacteria in the water. Oh, great. Yeah, after all that smell and things, yeah, I don't think I'd be wanting to drink that water. But they made this statement. Now, August 21st, a couple of days after these body parts were found, a coroner named Raoul Ulrich makes a public statement that this individual died by drowning. So imagine, this body's in this tank for 1.5 years, decomposed, body has disintegrated, and he's going to try to convince you that this person died of drowning. I've stated this long ago. A detective named Gannon in New York stated, local reports for local consumption. Local reports for local consumption means it's just to quell the community and take all of the ambiguity out of the case and say, hey, nothing's really going on in here, don't worry about it. Oh, okay, really? And then the coroner says there's no evidence of foul play, meaning that they didn't find a bullet in the body, a bullet hole in the brain, broken bones. And then he came back and he said that the body is ID'd as Sgt Richard Goodling. Now, how they ID'd that had to have been by the serial number on the boots and the belt, because they didn't have DNA back then. Fact. Well, the city of Fountain flushed all their fire hydrants right after this, and they also put a lock on the door to the tank. Oh, good job. And by the way, if there's other departments out there, you may want to lock your tanks too. Now, Sgt Goodling's remains were sent to Pennsylvania, where he got a full military funeral. This is the second case of a weird water death at Fort Carson. Now, you want to watch the others? You refer to the index of videos for that. Now, we don't know where Goodling dropped that Jeep off the base property. There was never any mention anywhere about a mental instability or a mental health crisis, but something caused Goodling to jump ship and drive off in that Jeep. Now, did he climb into that tank? The number of people we found in water department facilities is beyond unusual. I'm just saying. All right. I'm sure his brother is just as confused as we are, folks. Second case, very troubling. Involves a young girl named Stefanie Damron, 13, missing this year, September 23rd, 2024. This is a picture that was released about Stefanie. Her family owns 25 acres of property in New Sweden, Maine. The kids regularly walk the area. Her father is a retired fire captain from Arkansas, moved to New Sweden. Articles state that he moved the family's grandfather, along with some other people, and the 5 kids in the family, and he and his wife. Now, other people have told me that the articles state that the grandfather lives at the property, but it's not really the grandfather. So I'm not sure who that person is. Got several people feeding me information on this case, and none of it is good. September 23rd, Stefanie and her sister supposedly got into an argument. And the sister says Stefanie left the area and went into the woods. The parents weren't home. That's what the articles say. And the parents said that Stefanie often walked into the woods and ran away on occasions before, but was always found in the woods. The parents got home on the 23rd and thought that she would either come home or they went out and looked for her, but they didn't report her missing until September 24th. I'll tell you right now that some law enforcement people would find that suspicious. When your child's missing, you want as much help there as fast as you can to find her. So you can find fault in law enforcement if you want, but I'm just saying that would raise a red flag. Well, when they reported it, the Maine Warden Service and the Maine State Police responded with canines, ground pounders, and they searched large pieces of land all around that house and property. Stop there for a second. People reported to me that the living conditions here were questionable, meaning not everybody lived in a house. Some people lived in some other type of facilities. And because of that, the police spent a lot of time there searching. The location is 200 miles from the Canadian border, a very rural area. And right off the bat, Maine law enforcement thought something unusual was going on. It was originally reported that Stefanie left without any electronics. But then in subsequent articles, her parents said that Stefanie got a hold of, they said, her grandfather's old flip phone. And they didn't think that that flip phone could be used to contact social media sites. The innuendo being is that Stefanie contacted social media sites and maybe went to meet people via those contacts. That was their innuendo. Question I have about that is if Stefanie got in an argument with her sister, and this wasn't a planned event, how could Stefanie, in the middle of nowhere, Maine, get somebody to meet her out there on the spur of the moment? Doesn't make any sense. Well, she was reported missing on September 24th. September 27th, the Maine law enforcement contacted the FBI in Boston, and they got their child abduction task force agents out there. I have worked with these agents. Contrary to normal agents, these people, these men and women, are the best of the best. How do I know? I've worked with them. And when my sergeant and I were requested to come out and help on a case, working around them was like working around seasoned police. The reason we were asked to come out on the Poly class case is because the FBI agent in charge said he wanted people out there that could talk to criminals. FBI agents aren't out there talking to hardened criminals every day. Police officers are. Especially the ones like me that work specialized units all the time that did nothing but talk to hardened criminals all the time. You have to talk to them a certain way. And agents weren't used to that. And so that's why we were brought in. Now, a lot of the men and women we worked with on the Poly class case were really good. And if it was my child that was missing, I'd want them on it. So, Maine, you did the right thing by calling this unit out. Well, the FBI agents did what they should have done. They canvassed that whole area. And a couple of people from that area contacted me and explained what was going on. And this is not normal for a child, 13 years old, just walking away or running away. And in fact, the FBI has specific protocol in cases they can and cannot work. Example, there's protocol in their written documents that says that children under 3 years old, the FBI can enter the case if they're missing and work it. They cannot work a missing person case at 13 years old that I've ever heard, unless there's evidence of a crime that's occurred and requested by law enforcement to intervene. For some reason, the FBI believes that a crime's occurred. Well, they knock on the area, they knock on people's door, they get a feeling for what's going on. They do more searches. On October 26th, the community got involved, and there was a huge search of the same ground that had been searched before. The community was involved. They wanted to know what happened to this girl. So, this is New Sweden, just north of Caribou, Presque Isle. This is Woodstock, Maine, Heartland, Edmundston, Frenchville. This is the far northwest corner of Maine, Grand Falls right here. This is in the middle of nowhere, folks. Very, very rural. Very few services. Very few. Yeah, very few. On November 10th, Maine calls and gets Border Patrol to assist. And they use their helicopter. Border Patrol has great equipment, and they have FLIR, forward-looking infrared, on their helicopters. And at the same time, Maine tells some of these residences that they're searching with the best cadaver dogs in the state. Cadaver dogs can smell human death miles and miles away. They don't come up with anything. They also had FBI there for support. And I'm sure that the FBI is there because their forensics team are bar none the best in the world. And if they found something, forensic team was going to take care of it. December 2nd, the FBI posts a $15,000 reward for information on the case. Now, I'll say this again. The FBI doesn't get involved in missing person cases of teenagers unless there's a crime. I've never heard of them posting a reward on a straight missing person teenager, ever, there's got to be a crime. Now, do they post rewards on other missing person cases? If they believe there's a crime, sure. But I've never heard of one on a straight missing person case. Now, my guess is that the FBI did a search warrant on that phone that they say belonged to the grandfather. Well, but other contacts that I've had say that there's no grandfather living there, so I'm not sure whose phone that was. But if that phone showed a contact or it was in her possession, and they believed she left with somebody, why would they come back with a cadaver dog and search? If the FBI is still involved, and according to that reward they still are, then they've got to believe that there's criminality involved. There have been statements made in the press that the parents are upset that the FBI and law enforcement keep questioning them. That's normal, folks. Normal. Get over it. 90% of the cases involving children like this and missing people inside of a household are usually committed by people inside the household. They've got to clear you first. I can guarantee for an absolute 99% positive, the FBI requested those parents to take a polygraph test. And they requested the daughter who was in the fight to take a polygraph test. It's just part of their protocol to clear you, to put you out of the way so they can focus 100% on something else. Now the parents, in some articles, are saying that they aren't going to cooperate with law enforcement anymore. That is suspicious. And that would, if I was in law enforcement at that point, that would change my target. I'm just saying. The parents say that they weren't there when Stefanie disappeared. Well, I would question the daughter who says that Stefanie walked away because she got in an argument. Well, when she walked away, were the parents there? Just ask the other daughter. I've heard the conditions on this property were pretty tough to live in. I'm not sure what that entirely means, but we can only imagine. I feel very bad. I feel horrendously bad that Stefanie cannot be found. Now, if the parents had vehicles, I'm assuming they do, then Stefanie could be anywhere. Or if she was picked up by somebody, she could be anywhere. So look at this photo carefully. And if you live in the northeast part of the U.S., you've seen a girl, 13, well, she's 14 years old now, 13 when she disappeared. If you see anyone who looks like this, contact the local FBI office. Now, cadaver dogs, other dogs haven't picked up a scent. They don't know where she is. Just saying. Thanks for being here. Remember, go to the index, check it out. Go to our website, NA, like North America, nabigfootsearch.com. Get your hat and books. Thanks for being here. Remember to be kind to people. It's a kindness revolution. Paulides out.